If you are like me, then you hate paying premium for software that just takes an existing data, wraps ChatGPT around it, then slap a $50 price tag on it. Feels like robbery, right? Take Cursor for instance. It takes your code, sends it to ChatGPT, and boom, it's back with a solution. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually give Cursor credit for one thing. They have added a ton of feature like the composer, which does a lot more. That type of ChatGPT wrapper I totally understand, but for many of these apps, all they're doing is running a basic ChatGPT query and charging you for the convenience. Let's get even more real. Have you heard of Pair AI? They literally forked Continue Dev, which is forked from VS Code. Both open source projects, by the way. Then they slapped their own branding on top of it, and boom, you have got a $10, $15 product. Easy. But here's the thing, you could do this yourself in minutes. Why pay for someone else's logo? And then there's GummySearch, a $30 a month to analyze Reddit comments and get ChatGPT to spit out pain points, FAQs, and patterns. Hold up. Why not just copy and paste those Reddit comments yourself and get ChatGPT to do the exact same thing? No middleman required. But here on this channel, we do not take the easy way out. We are nerds here. We build, we innovate. So today I'm going to show you how to build your own tool that can analyze Reddit data, extract meaningful insight, and help you make smarter business decisions. No overpriced wrapper needed. So let's begin. I'm basically using a free version of Cursor, and to get the free version, you just gotta come into the Cursor settings and then go into the models and provide your API keys. In my case, I provided my Anthropic API key, and that's how it connects. There's caveat though. If you do not upgrade to the pro version, you do not get Composer. You do not get all the cool stuff where it's able to insert files, read files, and things like that. You will not be able to get that. So the feature set is limited, but this is how I like to use a Cursor. And it's just a wrap of ChatGPT with just some extra features. And I understand why they, I understand why they sell on the features, but you can also use the free version. It's basically the point. So I have VS Code open in a completely new folder called Reddit Mine, and this is where we are going to establish our code base. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to CrewAI's documentation, and basically what I'm looking for is installation and setup. And CrewAI basically tells you exactly how to install this if you want to install this properly. So you can go through the step, or you can come here and create an entirely completely new CrewAI project, which is what I am trying to do. So this is good if you want to integrate it into your already existing project, but this time around I want to establish a CrewAI project from the beginning. So I'm going to come over here and copy this. So I create CrewAI, and it's going to create this folder structure with everything that we need to get started. I do not like how it's using source here, because not many projects use source now, but we are gonna learn to live with it. So I'm just gonna come here, and then as you can see, the folders is completely empty. So I'm gonna paste the command here and just type the name of the project, and the name of the project we're gonna name it for now Reddit Mine, or we just mine and Reddit Mine. Click enter. So it looks like we did something wrong. That's weird. Okay. Alright, so CrewAI create crew. We didn't have to add the name. So I went ahead and created a crew, but I don't like the name. I'm gonna rename this to Reddit Mine. And as you can see, guys, it has gone ahead and established some really important things that we will need. So in this config folder here, when you run this command, it's going to give you agents.yaml, and this is where we are basically going to define our agents. A researcher agent, reporting analyst agent. We are going to change these values in a second, and these are tasks, the descriptions, and this is where we are going to define some custom tools. And, this is where everything comes together inside of the crew. As you can see, we're importing from, and then setting up the crew with each task. And so just make sure you cd into the crew folder. All right, let's come into our readme folder just so we understand what is going on. Welcome to the CrewAI. This is a template designer. First, if you haven't already installed POI3, so let us install POI3. All right, so we've installed POI3 successfully, and then next navigate to your project directory. Okay, so let's install the dependencies. Now let's run POI3 install, and it's just gonna install all our dependencies. The next step will be to set up our OpenAI API key. If you don't already, you can go to OpenAI and then click on the first link, come to dashboard, come to API keys, and you should be able to create a new API secret key here, and just name it and then click create. It's gonna give you a key, and then you're gonna copy it, come here to your .env and then paste the key over here. I'm gonna do that so you don't see it, so you don't copy my key. So crew.py is how we're gonna put everything together, and main.py is where we are gonna be calling our agents from. So let's run this. All right, so it looks like it's executing. Okay, so we're trying to build something like this. So first thing will be to get the most popular subreddits and then list them. So before making this video, I asked ChatGPT to give me instructions on how to get active popular subreddits, and I'm just pasting that instructions here so Kessa knows what to do. So now let's see. All right, so it made the code, supplied here. It has an endpoint subreddits, and this basically makes a request to popular subreddits, and then grabs these information, returns the JSON, and actually before we return it, let's make it easy to see it. So we're gonna return this. All right, we also have to retrieve client ID, client secret, and then user agent. So I'm gonna set these up. If you do not know how to set up environment variables, you gotta be extra careful when setting up environment variables. And environment variables basically allows you to communicate with another application. In this case, we are trying to communicate with Reddit, so we need some sort of secret so Reddit knows, oh, that's our app trying to communicate with Reddit. So we need to go over to Reddit, find this information, and come store this information in our application, so that whenever we're making this request, we also sending this information. So to get that information, you need to come in here. You need to come to this URL right here, apps, and it should land you here. And you're gonna come here and create a new app, and we just gonna name this Reddit My, and it's gonna be a web application. Find relevant information on Reddit, and then gonna include Reddit. So MySearch, just gonna name it MySearch. Host, semicolon. Once you have those populated and your .env file, come over here and import .env, load.env. This is going to allow us to connect to the .env file to be able to access the environment variables. You're also going to import OS, and what we are going to do here is over here where it says client, your client ID, we're going to paste this and take this information and replace this with that, and we're just going to do that for the rest. Make sure you close the brackets, and that is going to connect this to our .env variable. Let's also make sure that we have a server running. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy this right here, replace this with it. So this is going to be the entry port, and it's going to be running on port 5000. So now that we are here, we can do this. So it's telling us 5000 is in use by another program, so we can change this to 8000. Let's see. And look at that. We have something running on 8,000. Now we have our backend setup. We want to have a front end setup. Okay. I'm going to go to V0 and tell it to make me a page that displays subreddit data and information. And I'm just gonna go to our reference GummySearch, and you can see here each subreddit has a description, members. We can basically ask for the same, so we can say should have members, description, and name, and other relevant information. Okay, and look at that. Got created members. Look at that. That searches for subreddits. We have a nice little search that we can search, and it's gonna display subreddits. So just a few more modification. Okay, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. So this looks good. So I'm gonna copy the npx ChadCN add. I'm just gonna copy the code. Go back to VS Code. Okay, over here we have edit my backend. I'm just gonna create a new folder. No, not that. I'm just gonna make sure I click outside of this and create a new folder and call it Frontend. And just go to my terminal and make sure you cd into your front end. There's nothing in there. I'm going to paste this that I got from ShadCN, and it's going to ask me, would you like to start a new Next.js application? And this is the beauty of it all. Of course I want to start a Next.js application so that it establishes a new Next.js application and install what we already created in V0 and install it already for us. So I'm just gonna say yes as the name of the application. Gonna call it Reddit Man. And New York is fine, neutral is fine, yes. Right, so if we open up our front end, okay, we do have a new folder here with everything already established. Okay, if you go into the lib, it has utilities already created. And if you go to UI, okay, you have something's already installed, and here is subreddit info. Okay, and this is where it installs our dashboard. Okay, but if we go to page, okay, import that correctly, so now we can actually run our front end. So I can say cd ls we run the application. Let's just run yarn. It's just going to install all dependencies for this application into the folder. Okay, let's just wait for it to do extend. All right, so everything has been installed, and we're gonna run yarn run dev. Okay, this is gonna spin up a front end for 3001. So we can come here, go to new tab, go to localhost, and then go to 3001. Okay, and look at that, guys. Look at that. It's up and running. Okay, you can search. Okay, good. Okay, now we can go back. Go here, and I'm just gonna highlight this entire code and then add to chat. Okay, I'm just gonna say connect this to our backend at Pi. Okay, look at that. So search. Okay, I'm just gonna copy all of this. Okay, here, and all of this with what it just gave us. Okay, we definitely want to make sure we importing use effect. Okay, let's make sure we are importing Axios. Okay, we don't have Axios installed. I'm just gonna install Axios. I think it may have even suggested that down here to install Axios. It didn't. This install Flask. So let's see front and let's see. Okay, make sure you're in the right folder when you are trying to install this type of things. And right now I'm in the right folder in my front end, so I'm just gonna run yarn add Axios. Okay, this is gonna install Axios, and what we can do here is to come and I'll add Axios. Okay, complaining. Error is defined by it's never used, so I'm just gonna print error here. Okay, that looks like it's not gonna fly, so I'm just gonna do a console log. Okay, takes care of that. Okay, and I'm just gonna console log subreddits here. Okay, it looks like it already inserted, and it gave us some extra code as well to update our backend. So we're just gonna go back to Pi, and we need to replace all of this. Okay, vol, we need to take care of some cost issues, or else our app is gonna run into some serious issues trying to communicate, okay, with our front end. So it gives some great suggestions, I believe, here to install this. So I'm just gonna open up a new terminal and then cd into backend and then do a pip install. I think I need to do a pip3 install, and that should install cores. Okay, I'm gonna copy this. Okay, right there, copy this. Okay, right here, copy this. Okay, replace this with that. Okay, let's save that. Everything seems to have saved properly. Let's save that. All we can do is we can, okay, say please fix type errors. Okay, this is the beauty of using TypeScript. Okay, just to make sure that you don't run into issues when you're trying to deploy, because once you are trying to deploy a lot of things you get away with locally much more stricter if you are deploying to production. So TypeScript makes sure you basically catch these errors early, so the deployment runs smoothly. So if you are running a TypeScript application and it's green, you know you're good. If it's yellow, you know you're good. If it's red like this, you're gonna run into a lot of issues. Okay, what it keeps complaining about. Okay, and this one we just need to console log out since we no longer need that. So just gonna save that, and let's go to our node application. It looks like we are good, and let's go to our browser, and it looks like we're failing to fetch some subreddits. Okay, see what error we are getting is. It's possibly cause error. It's always cause error. Okay, go to console. All right, so looks like we're running into some cause errors. Okay, we can also do something like this. So Kessa wasn't able to resolve the issue, so I copied the error and pasted it right here, Claude, and it gave me a set of instructions. So if you're using Python backend, use this code. For other backend frameworks, you will need to add appropriate cause headers to your response. So I'm just gonna copy this and gonna see if this works. So I'm just gonna copy this, come here, replace that with that. And I think we already tried this before. I don't think it worked, but there's no harm in trying again. So let's try it. Just gonna refresh, still have the same error. So something else I can do is to come here and copy my entire code, go back to Claude and provide it. And it's gonna look through it and decide what it needs to add. All right, so it's gonna rewrite our code. So let's try this. All right, let's try this. And just to make sure, we're gonna restart our server. So I'm just gonna restart the server, and we're gonna go back to the browser, and let's reload. All right, so it says it's actually running on. I'm gonna try something else. Let's try to so I'm just gonna go here and let's replace this with just adding comments with these to get rid of this error. Okay, 160. And look look at that, look at that, look at that, guys. Look at that. We have our subreddits. It's properly fetching subreddits. Look at that. Look at data from subreddit. It fetches 50 subreddits. It's doing it twice though. We would want to prevent that. But look at that. Look at that. Look at that. And it's properly filling out the information as well. Out of the loop. Subst. This looks good so far. So now we want to add a functionality to be able to search. You should be able to search subreddit. When I enter a value here, I should be able to search the subreddit. So guys, one thing that I do is if you have a ton of documentation, like this documentation right here, that is a page long, that contains a lot of information, and I appreciate Reddit for displaying all of that information on just one page. I can copy the entire page, come over to Claude, paste it, and basically ask it for specific things instead of going through the entire documentation. So here I'm just going to ask it based off of the documentation I provided it earlier. Give me a step-by-step on how to search a particular subreddit. And also over here I make sure I change that to match the link that is being provided by Python. This is where our backend is exposed, so make sure. I thought it was localhost, but apparently it's not localhost. It's my IP right here, so make sure you are connecting properly to your IP. So that's what I did to get it to work, and to also put commas between some of these subreddits because it's not able to pick them up from the data. So we might have to go back and correct those later. But look at that step-by-step instructions. So I can copy this. Two ways to do this, or I could have come here, said, and we add a search functionality such that when a subreddit, a query is entered into the search, find matching subreddits. Okay, and here's the magic. I can do a documentation and do docs, right? And can do a Reddit. It doesn't find it, but you can also type the web address right here. So I could go back to Reddit API, to the documentation, and then copy the URL here and then come here and paste it. So let's try that. All right, so this is where you're gonna have to do some work. And the pro version, you could just click up to apply it, and I would encourage you to do that. I don't want to pay for it, so if you're like me, I don't want to pay for it. You don't mind doing some manual work, okay? So you can take this approach. So I'm just gonna copy this subreddit search results. Let's paste it right here. And we also need a search icon. So I'm just gonna copy the search icon. We need a handle search method or function. So it's making the correct request using what we know before, and appending where the request is going to be going to, encoded URL, search term. Fantastic job. So here is where things get a little bit interesting. I need to copy this all the way to here. I need to copy this. Flex and flex. We're looking for flex item center. So we're looking for this component. This part remains the same, but we're looking for this particular component here. And the search result. Interesting. So it looks like I completely disregarded this part of the code, but we can fix it. So this still remains the same, I see, but it just lost track here. So this is where it lost track. So we need to do something a little bit different here. So if filtered subreddits dot length equals to 0, do that. Filtered subreddit. This is where I can copy the whole code and go back and say, please review entire code and make sure we are doing this properly. Let's try this. Those are still the same. Copy this. Fetch subreddits, that remains the same. Handle search. Just gonna copy this. And I see. So we don't need a second handle set. Search. You can replace this search query, and here, I don't think we need filtered anymore. We can just have displayed subreddits. We replace the filtered with displayed. So that should take care of that. Search. So search is being used here. So I'm just gonna copy this input and let's replace our current input. You know what? There was nothing wrong with how it was before. So we don't need this actually. So we can just go with the search icon, which is coming from Lucid React. So this looks good. Let's inspect what that looks like. So now I can search subreddits. So I can say software and search. Oh, and it failed because we don't have this connected yet to the backend. So of course it's gonna fail. So let's go back. We had a backend code earlier. So if you look at what it gave us earlier, we can go back to our backend. Used Fast API, but we are using Flask. So we gotta be careful now with what we are copying. So I'm just gonna copy this. I want this to be below this. So just gonna paste this here. This request is not defined. Import request. I just need to import request. Okay. And are we displaying errors here? Let's just use the same error here since we're not using that's good. Subreddit is saying define. Yes. So this looks good. So we can go ahead now and try and test out application. So I'm just gonna type software and attempt to search, and we get a 500 internal server error. So I'm just gonna copy this to chat. Let's just review and debug it. This time it did get us the right code for Flask application instead of what was the code it gave us earlier? It gave us code for Fast API, software and search. Still. Okay, just gonna copy. Seems something is hard coded somewhere. Your search query. Please review again from the front end to just make sure it's on one argument. So at least we are getting to our backend. Since we are missing one argument. Okay. All right. So I think this is what we're looking for. So I'll copy this. Define subreddits request. Where's request? It's coming from Flask. Just gonna add a request, and this is how we should be getting it actually. So we're using a previous code from Fast API, so that was why it was having a little bit of issues. So with Flask, this is how you get a query queue which we are passing in. So hopefully this is the issue that fixes it. So the only way to tell us to go back to our front end, load, and let's search. All right, and we do. Look at that. We do get results. Self-hosted Linux. Look at that. We do get some results back, guys. So we have made significant progress, guys. I'm just gonna go here, and over here on each subreddit card, I just want to tell AI to add the ability to click on a card, and it should take you to page search for that subreddit's data, like comments, etc. So what are we doing right now? We are trying to add a functionality to be able to click on each of these cards, and once you click on each card, it should open up a new page and give us a little bit more details where we can get more information about topics that are being discussed. So within software engineer, there could be several topics within software engineer being discussed. So we want to see what are the popular topics being discussed within each subreddit. What are some common patterns? What are some pain points? I want to find out what are the pain points within the subreddit. What are people asking questions about, having pain points about? And we also want to find out what are some frequently asked questions within a subreddit. So let's go back to the code, and so we get a cursor pointer, so we can copy it as part of the code. Okay, and basically what we want to do is we want to replace this part right here underneath. We want to replace all this part with that, but we also want to make sure we close in there. So we're gonna copy the closing link and then make sure after the card we place it right there. And we don't have link imported, so let's just make sure we have link imported. Import from next link. Yep. So now if we go back to our cards, you can see that they are a little bit clickable, and if you click on one, it takes you to a page we don't have ready yet. Okay, so what is the link it's redirecting to? It redirects to a subreddit name, so redirects to subreddit / subreddit name. So I'm just gonna go back to the next code and just gonna copy this, and what we want to do is we want to create a pages subreddit, but we are not using the pages directory. We're using the app directory, and to be able to add pages, what we want to do is actually, so I'm a bit confused where to add that. So I got a bit confused there, guys, and you can also do this. So Next.js new version has a slightly different way of setting up pages, and if you are not careful, you will back yourself into a very difficult corner. So first suggestion was to create this directory, and that would be creating a pages directory, and that would not work depending on the version of Next.js you are using. So all I did was to take a screenshot and ask it, this is my folder structure, where should it go? And it gave me this suggestion. So inside our app directory, we need to create a new directory called subreddit. Inside of the subreddit directory, we need to create another directory and call it name. And then inside of name, the file and name it page.tsx, and this is where we would paste our code. So over here where it's complaining, I can ask it to fix it with AI, because I think I don't know where it's getting this from, but I guess it's worth a try. Guess we can install this. So let's just add this. So not sure where it's setting those from, and we're not using these, so I'm just gonna subreddit. All right, we'll come back to it. I'm just going back to my chat history here, and we just need to copy this where it retrieves subreddit details. So this is where we want it to do a bit of magic. So instead of just retrieving the subreddit details, we're gonna do something else. We are gonna retrieve the subreddit details: titles, call, number of comments, name, title, members, top post, return the top post. Let's see how many posts. Attempts to return first. So we have an issue. You're trying to import server components, use router. So we need to use client, use router. What's wrong with? So I'm just gonna copy this and see. So use params. So we should be using this. So use params, use router. Okay. And look at that. When someone with fake boobs dies, okay, stupid question. When someone is there a point of the composition where it's just skeleton with huge boobs? Do all guys hold their dicks 100 What are people posting? Oh man, what are people posting? So I just want to go back and I want to see how many posts are we actually asking, because I'm not able to tell. I'm gonna say, can we return the top 50 posts and comments we want to analyze patterns? TCs will be great. So let's do that. All right. So we got something back. So I'm just gonna copy this. And I like how it says respect subreddits API limits. You always want to respect API limits. So never want to abuse API limits for sure. So, all right. It looks like we are getting some errors. So I think I might know why. We didn't import time. So let's make sure importing everything correctly. So that might be it. So let's refresh. And this time it's taking a long time. So that's a lot of data being processed. It's taking a long time. Let me just restart the server and let's make the request again. Nothing is happening. What's going on? All right. Let's copy this. Give it back to AI. So we are trying to pass JSON, and so we just gotta make sure. We are passing things correctly. So I'm just gonna copy this and go back. The code. Take this to the top. Copy this last bit, and I think that needs to go here. Alright, this is a bit confusing. Alright, so it looks like this time around what we're looking for. So I'm just gonna copy this and this replace. Looks good. Let's refresh. Alright, so it looks like we got some results, and look at that, guys. Look at that. When you can start. Okay. It looks like we're making too many requests. Let's prevent that. So it looks like let's use prow. We're using prow. So I'm just gonna say Reddit, because it looks like it's making a call directly instead of using prow, which it did right here. It did use prow right here, but for some reason it decides to do its own thing. Alright, perfect. So I'm just gonna copy this. Let's see. So basically this time around we're using prow Reddit, which we defined up here. So Reddit equals to prow.reddit, and hopefully this is better. So I'm just gonna save this. Shower thoughts. So that is failing. Alright, I'm just gonna add some login so we can tell what is going on a little bit. So I'm just gonna go back in. You can see here something ain't right still. Alright, now we have a better error that we can actually provide and get a better output. So it looks like based on the error, it appears that a function in your Flask application is not returning the valid response that is causing the type of error correctly. Okay. We might have to go back to the way it was set up before. Looks like we got something going on this time. So let's just wait. And look at that. Successfully retrieved the top post. So now we have the data. So if you look right here, you have each post, you have comments within each post. So we have data here that we can use. So what I want to do next is we want to take this data. I want to take this, turn it into a tool, and pass it on to our agents to basically analyze and basically give us the topics, analyze the common patterns within comments, and what else? Any frequently asked questions and pain points. So what we are going to do is we're going to go to tools, and I'm going to extract this in a second. This should be a tool and custom tool. So I'm just going to come here and ask AI, add a to this code, which is the code I copied from subreddit detail. So I'm just going to ask it to create a tool here that basically uses this code. So we turn this into a tool. Now when this endpoint is hit, this tool gets called with that data, and when that data is retrieved, we can then send that over to our CrewAI agent to analyze and basically extract all of that information that we are looking for. So we have our tool right here. So I'm just going to copy this and then go back to tools, custom tool. So we already have a custom tool. We don't want that. We want to create our own tool. So I'm just going to paste this here. It's going to paste this here, and we are missing some imports. So I'm just going to copy all of this and go all the way to the top. And replace all of the imports with that, and we should be good to go. So we have created our tool, subreddit tool. So let's just make sure we don't forget the naming and don't name it wrong. So what I can do next is to go back to Crew, and this is where we put everything together. But we also want to go into our config file. I want to define our agents. So I'm just gonna add this to AI, and I'm just gonna tell it, can you redefine these agents? First agent is going to take their subreddit detailed from at custom tool. I'm just gonna reference that file and analyze the data. What we are looking for is commonly asked questions, pain points, and broader topics being discussed, and also common patterns. Use examples to construct agents. And I also want to make sure something here. So I'm just going to go back to CrewAI. So when you are using these YAML files, so you define a role. So you define a role, backstory, goal. Don't define the tools in here. So yep. When you are setting them up, this is where we would define any additional tools. So that makes sense. So I'm just gonna go back and let's press enter. All right, and look at what we got, guys. Look at that. So we have our agent. So I can copy and replace that. So we don't need this. So we have a subreddit analyzer. You are skilled in data analysis specialist, particularly your expertise lies in directing subreddit data into extracting meaningful insight. You have key insights. So analyze subreddit and cover commonly asked questions, broader questions. So it looks like it added this, which we don't need for now. We're just going to use subreddit analyzer for now, and that looks good. We're going to go into the task section. Please turn this into the subreddit analyzer task. That basically task for subreddit analyzer agent. Let's just see what it does here. Let's just see what. So I'm just going to copy this and replace this with that. But we are also going to need something, guys. So expected output, a summary of the subreddit's overall characteristics, a list of the top most 5 commonly asked questions, a list of top 5 recurring pain points, an overview of 3 to 5 broader topics, description of 3 to 5 common patterns, identification of 2 to 3 emerging trends, shifts, a brief analysis of the subreddit's sentiments towards the main topic. So this looks good. This looks good. For agents looks good. The YAMLs look good. Tasks that YAML looks good. we are gonna go into the crew and this into the subreddit analyze agent and include the relevant, what do we call it, subreddit too. We're just gonna delete this agent. We don't need it. We're gonna delete this task as well. We don't need it. All right, so we got our subreddit agent. So I'm just gonna replace that, and we just need to import this. I just need to import that, which is coming from customs tools, and we need to turn this into the subreddit. That looks good to me. I'm just gonna copy and paste it here, and I think that looks good. We can go back to our main file and basically ask it to replace this with crew agents from crew.py, return the data back to the front end. All right, so I'm just gonna copy this and let's replace that with that. So we need to import crew or crew. So I have a feeling this is gonna go really terrible. It's gonna go really terrible, but let's give it a shot. No module name read time. So it looks like we are importing from wrong. So I think it did something wrong here. What we want to do this. So inside of crew, there's no kickoff. Kickoff is how you kick off the process. So I think I got things completely wrong here. So I'm just gonna retry. This is wrong. Okay, so now it's using Python trick. So this is actually what we're looking for. So it looks like it's repeating code. This review custom tools tasks the agents at crew. Right, so now this looks good, and we don't need this. So crew is coming from here, so let's import. All right, so now let's test this out. Let's see first. Oh, it looks like we're having trouble. It's in crew and then crew. It's in Reddit mine source crew. All right, guys, I got this running by adding this right here. For some reason, I couldn't read in this because the main, I don't know. But this is how I got it to start running. So now we can go ahead and test the application. So when we go into the subreddit details, it's supposed to come in here and it's supposed to kick off. It's supposed to kick off the CrewAI. I'm gonna leave this for now because I'm not exactly sure why it added this. It's time to test this. So, all right. So we are already getting some errors. Let's try and figure out why. So just gonna add to chat. So if we go back to the custom tool, Reddit is not defined. So Reddit is not defined, and it's because we yanked it from the main tool, and we should have copied this over. So let's import the other things. We need this. So need this as well. And this is Reddit is not there. So let's see what it does. And let's try this again. Still errors. Did we forget it? Save? No. Solve that Reddit. I don't trust, for some reason I don't trust what Kessa is providing me these. So I'm sick of having to go back and forth with Kessa. So I'm just gonna Claude, see what Claude says. Alright, so it looks like we are attempting to pass off this topic. When you come all the way down here, we are passing this topic. We don't need to do that. I don't think we need to do that. It's kicking off. I need to use a subreddit tool detail to gather information on the topic. This will. So it's not picking up on the subreddit topic correctly. So this is how we are gonna transfer the data coming from the front end basically picking the subreddit and passing it on to the crew. Self that inputs, and we are basically defining self that inputs here equals to any inputs coming into the constructor. And if we go back to main inputs subreddit name, we are basically passing the subreddit name. So let's give this another shot. Let's go back to application and reload. Still having issues, so I'm just gonna copy this. Since it still looks like it's an inputs issue. Call this subreddit. So let's just make sure we go into YAML files, particularly task where it says topic. I keep seeing topic, so I just want to look for a topic because it looks like it's looking for this. So I'm just gonna replace that. With subreddits, okay, so that hopefully that picks it up properly. You can see here, this is what it asks you to. This is what it proposes you use it. So let's make sure we're not missing something else. So let's try this again. Got you. So we also need to define a kickoff, which I think running that command earlier refused to do. So let's do that here. Something ain't right. So that was weird. Still have issues, guys. Still have issues. Let's go back to Claude again. Let's ask for help. So we should have this run. Alright, let's try this. So it should be have a run method. Okay. Crew.run. Okay. So reddit.prow. So let's see. So the Reddit. Okay. Guys, finally guys, and you can see right here subreddit name is picking it up correctly. So it's going to use that to the tool starting task analyzing subreddit using subreddit detail tool. All right, it says response still loading, and look at that guys. Over here on the front end, we are not displaying that information properly, and we can look back at the endpoint with the details and see what we get. We get this long string, and I'm just asking ChatGPT to make it readable and look at the information that we do get back. Top 5 recently asked, how do I solve puzzle? Recurring pain point, bugs and glitches, limited character customization, broader topic themes. So we can go back to the application and go back to the front end, go back to our front end, and what is the component? I think it was called subreddit details. This is where we make the request to subreddit details. And what we are going to do is we will be displaying all of the subreddit details later on with a comment. So we can have a place to display that. But for now, I'm just going to ask it to, we will be receiving this data. Please display this on this page instead, and display a loader skeleton while we wait. And then I'm just gonna paste the string and send. So it looks like did, but on wrong thing, we're gonna say the data is coming from that string of data is coming from the fetch subreddit details response. So use it to populate page. Make sure it displays nicely with any heading DC heading bullets. And we could have made a response coming back. We could have made a response coming back from agents. We could have made it in markdown. That makes it so much easier to display that on the front end. It comes in already ready, so we can basically display it on the front end. Set analysis data response. So we should set that instead of so it looks like it veered off a little bit. I'm just getting it back on track. Search data. So this looks right. So I'm just gonna copy this and we are gonna replace that. Where is that coming from? So we're using Next.UI and not, it's also using a badge from ShadCN instead of Next.UI, so we can copy this. Oh, we are not using, so my fault. Are using, so we are using, so ShadCN add, so it should be, so it's definitely my fault. So it should be this. So ShadCN add skeleton. Right. Let's also add the badge component. Alright, so it says badge already exists. So it's just badges defined but never used. Alright, so let's go back to our app and let's go back. And we're gonna say technology, imaginary technology, crypto technology. Let's spy on crypto technology. Let's see what it got going on. So it looks like it's having difficulty with these split statements. So let's go back to the error. Let's see. So search subreddit, the details. I'm gonna do one thing. Let's go back to our agents and let's just ask. So I'm just gonna say, make sure this data is coming as an MDX. Let's try and make the expected output. So it says use, okay, expected output. And I'm just gonna go down. It looks like crypto technology. Let's just see if it comes out in markdown format, and if it does, we would modify the front end to attempt to display markdown. So it looks like section preview. So here's the result. Overall subreddit crypto technology, and it looks like it added some characters that we did not want. So it looks like we are receiving, but just displaying the information isn't quite right. We can check the response too. I think we console log that. So I can go to the console log, go to the response, go to the data, and you can see the data right there. And it looks like we are getting several calls. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna copy this, copy train contents. Actually, I'm gonna say copy object and say this is what they're actually, and I'm just gonna provide it with the response data, and let's see what it's able to do. So it's asking us to install React rundown. So okay, I'm just gonna copy the entire code. I'm gonna copy the entire code and replace our code with it. Save it. It's already making a request. So let's just wait and see what. And we should have told it to just make one call. Right now we have repeater calls, which is not ideal. You ideally want one call to the API, so you don't make too many requests and get rate limits. So that is something that can easily be fixed. And with Next.js, React, and the way it re-renders component, when something changes, when it needs to update the component, sometimes it loads and reload. Right, looks like we haven't, or maybe getting a response back. Are we getting a response back? And as you can see, guys, look at what we have. Summary of subreddit. No stupid questions. Top 5 commonly asked questions. How do airplanes stay in the air? What is the meaning of life? Why do we dream? Is water wet? How do vaccines work? So top 5 pain point: anxiety, relationship advice, social media, etiquette, overview. As you can see, you guys, you get a point here. You're able to get a lot more information if you want to, and you can pass some data points if you want to. I'm going to leave this on GitHub, open source. You can go there, fork it, do whatever you want with it, update it, add to it. I thought this was a fun project, though, and I'm probably going to be using this instead of GummySearch. I'm going to be using this, improve upon this, and use this instead of GummySearch to basically get analysis and pain points on subreddits. So this is it, guys. Hopefully you took a lot out of this like I did. I definitely learned a lot from working on something like this, and hopefully you did as well. And if you did, give this a thumbs up.